In our centers, Friday prayers are not wajib until the 12th Imam comes, but it is in the Quran, so isn't it wajib now? I was also wondering if it's also applicable to women as well.
Unfortunately, this decision was taken after the occultation of the 12th Imam that this salah should become wajib only when he comes back. But this kind of thinking has been severely critiqued even inside the Hawza, because there were some people who had this mindset that until the 12th Imam comes back, Islam should be suspended. So you had fuqaha, for example, who said khums should be buried in the ground because they had read narrations in some sources which said that when the 12th Imam will come, the earth will vomit all its buried treasure. So you just bury the khums. When the 12th Imam comes, the hummus will come out itself and the Imam will be able to use it. So you had all these, weird and quietist ideas prevailing. It was only Imam Khomeini and the Islamic revolution that he brought about after so many centuries that actively challenged this idea. Shi'as had become passive in the Safavid period. Everything was being deferred when the Imam, Jab Imam aayenge. When the Imam comes, we will do this. When the Imam comes, we will do this. The obligations of Islam were being dropped. The obligation to establish an Islamic system does not exist until the 12th Imam comes. The obligation of Salatul Jum'ah does not exist until the 12th Imam comes. Khums does not exist until the 12th Imam comes. Everything, delay it and postpone it until the 12th Imam comes. As if the deen of Allah gets almost cancelled, or it is abrogated, or it is in suspension, it is suspended until the 12th Imam comes. But is there any basis for this in the Quran? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, when He issues orders, does He place any statute of limitations? Does He place any expiry date on His commands? The ayah of Suratul Jum'ah is very clear. It has got nothing to do with the presence of any Imam or not. Allah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu idha nudiya lis-salati min يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. O you who believe, when the call to prayer is made on the day of Friday, فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله, then rush and hasten to the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah is saying when the call to prayer is made on Friday, you should leave everything, your trade, commerce and business, and rush to the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there is no mention of whether this is only for the time of the Prophet or not. This is mutlaq. So basically there is no justification for limiting it to any specific instance. We have reports that you will see even in the Maqtal and in books of history of the Shia of Imam Ali alayhi salam attending the Friday prayers even under the Banu Umayyah. Why was Hujr bin Adi martyred? Hujr bin Adi Ridwanullahi alayhi was martyred because he used to attend the Friday prayer, which was the time when the Umayyads would invoke curses on Imam Ali bin Abi Talib, and he would stand up and speak out against that in the khutbah during the sermon. He would interrupt the speaker, and so this is why they sent reports and complaints about him to Muawiyah, and he was executed. Abdullah bin Afif al-Azdi, when Ibn Ziyad came on the pulpit and he announced his so-called victory and condemned Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Abdullah bin Afif al-Azdi was a Shia who lost his right eye in the battle of Jamal and left eye in the battle of Siffin, they say. Hardcore Shia. And yet he was attending Salatul Jum'ah. That is how he heard the sermon of Ubaidillah ibn Ziyad. If he was locked in his home, he wouldn't know what's going on in the masjid. And so he stood up and defended Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and he was executed for that. So yes, if you look at early Shi'ism, early Shi'as, Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, we have authentic reports about him attending the Jum'ah with the rest of the Muslims. So yes, there have been scholars like, for example, Ayatollah Sheikh Muhammad Mahdi al-Khalisi, who have written very strictly about the importance of Salatul Jum'ah and it being wajib. Interestingly, even Allama al-Majlisi in Bihar al-Anwar, he says Salatul Jum'ah wajibun ayniyun fi jami' al-azman. Salatul Jum'ah is wajib ayni in all, because he's going by the akhbar, right? By the overwhelming body of narrations from the Imams. So even though there was fabrication in some areas, not everything was fabricated. So apparently he was able to arrive at the truth in this matter, that yes, Salatul Jum'ah is wajib aini under all circumstances. وَهِيَ غَيْرُ لَيْسَتْ مَشْرُوطَةً بِوُجُودِ الْإِمَامِ الْمَعْصُومِ أَوْ نَائِبِهِ الْعَامِ أَوْ الْخَاصِ. There is no condition for Salatul Jum'ah that an Imam Ma'soom has to be present, or his general representative, or his special representative. There are no such conditions. And as far as the question of women is concerned, in the traditional corpus, there are reports which say that there are certain categories of people who are exempted from Salatul Jum'ah in the sense that it is not wajib on them. They do not sin if they miss out on these obligations. So you've got the sick person, the traveler, and among these categories, women have also been listed as entities on whom Salatul Jumu'ah is not wajib. Similarly, people, for example, who live in areas where you do not have a centralized masjid, for example, for them it is exempted. So in some of the reports, women have been exempted. However, if we look at this thing Quranically, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses it to Ya ayyuhalladhina aman, O you who believe. So if women want to attend this prayer, there is no grounds to stop them from coming to it. But yes, if they are not attending this prayer, then there is some evidence in the sources to indicate that it was not made wajib on them.